Thank you for joining us this morning. I don't know what page to be on. I've got coffee. Kyla has...
I have tea.
Tea.
I'm a cheater. I have tea and gummies, not
I
chocolate.
have chocolate. Shout out to Susan Crane. Thank you very much. What we want to do is give as much information as possible. Like, have answers available to you. The second part of that is creating knowledge by using the information. Creativity requires some boldness, some risk. People ask, well, what happens if I power pull this or swax that? Make yourself a little piece. You don't have to compromise your entire sculpture.
Try it first.
But yeah, make something and try it. And there's a lot that I haven't done, so I don't always have the answer to, well, what if I do this and then this? And so that exploratory spirit will take you far in what you're able to do next. I took notes on some of the suggestions of what you guys wanted to talk about, and 2D came up a lot. Someone asked, wet felting versus needle felting, 2D. Why, which one? When to do needle felting is when you really want to control what's happening, especially with fiber that's going to be remaining unstuck. So if you're making a fluffy dog or the rooster has the locks, sometimes wet felting will mash stuff down or, it's a little less controlled. What I really like about wet felting, it really felts the fiber together. And if you're using silk or fur, anything that creates that when it wet felts ripples. So there's textures that happen when you wet felt a piece that I think are amazing and a part of the art. Merino maintains your richest colors and wet felts the smoothest and the best. Silk, and now we have fur, will kind of behave the same because silk doesn't felt. When the wool felts, the silk gets wrinkled. So that's plus it has shine. So that's a really fun fiber to use. Mulberry is shinier and more smooth and maybe generally slightly longer staple length. Tussa has a little bit more texture, and this brings us to Housecarded. When we formulate the Housecarded bats, it's not just about color, it's about how it's going to be used. So the flowers, for example, have a higher amount of silk and merino, no core wool, because we're anticipating that you're going to wet felt with those colors. The horse coat colors have merino for color and smoothness, core for consistency and feltability, and tussa silk for shine. Anticipating that they're going to be used in a direct needle felting method.
Somebody got fur instead of Surrey in the camel because that's where we are now.
The fiber situation is always changing. It's not a fixed thing. It can depend on the sheep. It can depend on our vendor. I can't refilm every tutorial. So there are some changes in supply packs. We try really hard to make an even substitution or an even better substitution. We switched fur for Surrey, and there's a tiny bit in the camel, tiny bit in the donkey. The bunny puff is the big one. We switched fur for Angora. And that makes our supply packs now cleaner, more consistent, more affordable. The fur, there's a big advantage to the consistency. There will be changes along the way, but it's part of the medium.
How the heck do you separate the layers of hankies? Yeah, the hankies are... You keep going. It's and then it's all spider webby, and if you have a problem with that, it's a little creepy.
Have your snips next to you so that if there is a string, just cut it. But
you can get really thin.
You can get really thin.
Peel one and then hold the rest down and try to pull it off.
How much to stab is always a question. There's preference, and then there's also, my advice is you've got to stab enough for it to hold its structure and be well shaped and adhered and sculpted. That line between that but then not stabbing the life out of it is, I usually use the bagel reference, or if you squeeze your forearm. If I'm making a bone, then I will make that harder. So the animal has different levels of softness to it. Like the belly might be softer. If you've ever participated in one of my workshops, I try to be so like, there's always more than one way. And like, but there's a few things that I don't want to happen in my presence. One of them is airfelting. Now I know some people work almost entirely this way, but if you're developing habits, the reason that I like to have something against a felting surface is, first of all, when you stab, the needles go all the way through very easily. You know, you can get involved and stab at an angle that comes right towards your hand, and now you're bleeding. The other reason is if you're holding something in the air and you stab, it's just gonna move out of the way. It's like if you're trying to hammer a board and you're trying to hammer a nail at the top of the board, but you're just holding the bottom of the board. Your stab has no impact. So then what do? You move your hand there to hold it. And then now you're bleeding again. When your project is against the surface, it's way more effective. Your needle is getting the opportunity to do what it's supposed to do.
Somebody did ask about, is the shop open to the public? That is an oft asked question. And we don't know when the shop is going to be a shop open to the public. As far as placing an order, it's best to do that online.
Yeah, and people are welcome to make an appointment and stop by. But we just don't have a shop to shop in. We have been working on the certification program, and that's been our big push this last couple of months. It's really for people who are interested in teaching and you know, making some form of income from teaching. It's not gonna be for everybody, but it's gonna be a good system. So I'm really excited about that. So that has been our focus. So that's why there has not been a new felting university. On the website, there's a calendar, and that's where you can see when the next Fiber Fairy is coming. And there is a tutorial explaining the Fiber Fairy and how to participate. So I advise signing up for the newsletter, subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you're a Facebook user, join Serafina Felting Fanfare and follow Serafina Fiber Art. Those are our channels. That's how we can reach you. Almost everything we do is either linked or posted about on our Facebook page, which is Serafina Fiber Art. Oh, and if I haven't publicly thanked you for your stories.
Oh, so good.
So many good stories. I tried to get back to everyone, but if I didn't know that I read it and appreciated it, and always looking for more, especially over the past year, we've all felt extra. We felt
pun.
Yes. We felt a lot of things on the inside, and that led to a lot of this kind of felt, and yeah, it's been intense. So serafinafiberart@gmail.com if you want to send me your felting story. I'm going to say I would like you to share with the idea that I can share. Or if you want to share without me sharing, just say so in your email. Just to say, this is for you only, Sarah. And then when I talk about it, I'll try to have a poker face. All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us this morning. I had a good time and I needed it. Bye.
We are ready to go.